My name is Kevin Durman. I'm the CEO of Cascade, and with us today is Russell Warren, who's our CTO, and Lindsay Ward is the Partner Success Manager for Proposify. So we are doing today's call from a mixture of people from South Africa sitting in Johannesburg and the different lockdown locations, and Lindsay sitting in Canada as well. So from right across the world, welcome to the webinar, and we hope that it is of a lot of value to you. So we're going to be going through a fair amount of information through the presentation. It will be made available to you afterwards. You'll be able to revisit it if you like. And I just wanted to kick off telling you a little bit about Cascade if you are not familiar with Cascade. So Cascade is a cloud focused company that focuses on cloud services, both from a infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and as well as software as a service. And software as a service is one of the items that we're speaking about today. And we address three components of the market, but all from enterprise to small, medium business, and we have special offerings for startups. And we provide different services to those different market segments. On the enterprise, it's very much around optimizing the use of cloud, looking at proof of concepts and advanced technologies like artificial intelligence, IoT, blockchain, and integrating that into their solutions. For small, medium businesses, it's really about giving them an environment that's absolutely hassle-free, always on IT with a 99.99% uptime and a pay-as-you-use monthly pricing model. But we also give them access to fantastic technologies that used to be the domain of only enterprise-type customers. And on the startup side, we have fantastic startup packages as well that are available. So if you're a startup, do get hold of us there as well. Now, today is about Proposify, and it is about this fantastic SaaS solution that is about creating your great proposals. So we're going to get stuck in to that. But first, I want to actually just give you a bit of background about why we partnered up with Proposify, because this speaks to really, I think, everybody's issue around proposals. And I, as the CEO, went into this arrangement and starting to use the software kicking and screaming, because I really believed initially that we could do our proposals on Word, and we could convert them to a PDF and send out the PDF, and that's fine. And we had a very nice CRM system in the background. We could kind of make it work. And Russell Warren, who's going to chat to you in a moment, was the one who said, you know, really, it's taking too long, and there are a whole lot of issues. And I'm going to let Russell explain, because it really was his brainchild to actually think about it. So Russell, over to you with this.
Thanks very much, Kevin. And I will say, Kevin and I have worked together in the past, and it's not the first time I've taken him kicking and screaming towards a solution. And in many cases, I think perhaps I'm quite zealous when once I've made the decision, I get quite zealous about it. And I think this is a good thing. You know, we often check in with each other to make sure that we've covered every base before we go ahead and make decisions. So proposals in general, I mean, I'm just going to say, who likes them? When we talk about proposal software, I don't think anyone gets overly excited to go, wow, you know, proposals, I can't wait to get to my next one. Maybe it's just me, but for me, I find them incredibly time consuming. There's many repetitive tasks inside them. You just seem to get on top of it. You got yourself a great template. You're working through things and it's looking good. And then you make a couple of changes and suddenly your formatting's all out, and that takes half the time again to redo it. So it's really, you know, the starting point was, I guess, frustration, a familiar frustration that'll be familiar with many people doing proposals. And then, you know, we do the logical thing. What do you do when you're backing through this? You try and create templates. So you make yourself a couple of documents, great Excel spreadsheet with all the pricing and all those good things in it. It's a little better, sure, but you still end up in pretty much the same position as previously, in that you're going, well, which customer was that thing that I said, right? That sentence sounded good. I want to copy and paste from that into the new customer template, and then it's a colleague makes a change, and you didn't get to see it, and you're not really sure. So now, what version was it that you're on again? And it's all around the same story, right? And these are real pain points for me. I think we should be able to get proposals out really quickly. I think they should be accurate. I think they should look good. And if anything, we often look at something like a proposal and say, oh, it's a problem to get it done quickly. And I can't remember where I read it, and maybe someone will remind me in the comments or something. But it's the problem is the solution, right? So, and this is one of the things that I found when I was doing my research and I looked at Proposify, was that actually instead of the proposal being a hassle, instead of it being a pain point, and our platform just kind of like ticking off a few boxes on that pain point, can this not become the solution? Can it not make us even better? Rather than just having a nice proposal tool that's quick, or can the proposals be more impressive than perhaps anyone else's, or can it actually speed up our sales process? And that really was a key differentiator for me in considering Proposify as a platform.
So if I can just add in there, so the key thing and the thing that excited me the most was our speed to getting proposals out. I think that was one factor. The more proposals you can get out there in the shortest amount of time, it increases the chances of you getting deals. As you know, a lot of it is a number game from that perspective. But there was added on benefits that we started seeing. Suddenly we had the information about what was happening with those proposals and what was when people were looking at it. And you're going to see a lot of that through this presentation. What are some of those great secrets that works? But deals started closing quicker. The value of the deals was higher. There was fewer confusion from the customers. So overall, it was a fantastic opportunity. And then what happened was, because we were presenting our proposals like this, customers started saying to us, the way you delivered your proposal was fantastic. Where can we get the software? And then we started thinking, well, actually, we've learned so much about it, and we've learned so much about the process that it would be a great idea to partner with Proposify and bring the solution to market. So with that, I'm going to hand over. We're going to be having a bit of a discussion. It's going to be fairly interactive between the three of us, but I'm going to make Lindsay the presenter, and she's going to take us through this research that they did. And you'll see how this certainly isn't anecdotal research. It is based on a huge amount of analysis that they've done. So Lindsay, welcome. Thanks for joining us, and over to you.
Thanks for having me, Kevin, Russell. It's great to be on with you guys. Even just branching off from what you just said, what we've analyzed from 1.6 million proposals, 75 industries, 35 countries, and over $2 billion in business. You guys aren't alone in that pain point, that kicking and screaming to get in there and say, is there an easier way to do this? I don't necessarily want to add another software, but then once you do, you kind of start to realize that value add that you get from it right off the top. The interaction that you have with the sales reps that you're currently working with, that process to be able to have the last proposal that you sent out and know that it's standardized, to know that it has all of your information, and to really know that it's proven to close deals. Your deals are closing faster because you're able to reuse these proposals, because you're able to have a document that you know is standardized to your information, and that you can get out quickly. And especially, in this time that we're kind of living in, where everybody is making that move to online, to cloud migration, it's more important now than ever to be able to collaborate with your team and to know that you and your team are working together toward the same goal, whether it's, your marketing team, your sales team, your operations team. You guys all know that you have something beautiful, branded, that you're really using to close deals. So kind of moving from what we analyzed, technical difficulties, there we go. What you're going to learn within this presentation with all of us, and it is going to be quite a conversation, which is why we really wanted to partner up and do this webinar together, so that we could discuss from clients and now partners of ours who have used the software and who know the value of it. So something we'll dig into is why the design of your documents might be unintentionally alienating prospects, why design is so important, and why you should have a beautiful branded proposal that you're able to get out quickly. The ideal window to get prospects a proposal when they're ready to buy. Super important to not have that drag, to not have that process lag at all. And we'll actually go into a few interesting studies as we go through this presentation that really highlight why it's important to make sure that you get them out the door as quickly as possible. And then how modern technology is changing how we sell, which is one of the main things that we're really taking into account, especially now. And also why now is the time to migrate to the cloud. Why it's time to get your process fully online, to be able to integrate with your team, and to be able to know that you guys are working together to be able to move this process along. So we'll dig right in. And one of the things that we'll start with is that, nobody sells B2B anymore. What they're really doing is they're selling human to human. And this kind of goes down that sales funnel from startups to mid-market clients to enterprise clients. When you're talking about the buyer experience, about say a cold coming your way, and that's Kyle, where he was sent out this cold email. He was interested in the software and the product, and he said, you know what, great, let's move forward with it. Send me a proposal, and we'll get this out the door. He was ready. He was ready to buy, but their team came back. And they said, okay, great, we don't send out the proposals in this department. We have somebody in accounts doing that. So we'll send you one next week and we'll close that deal and we'll get it going. And so, the weekend goes by, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, that goes by as well. And still no proposal, nothing to close the deal. Kyle reaches out and he says, hey, listen, I'm ready to close this deal. Can you send along that documentation? And what essentially ended up happening is that it just went cold. That buyer experience was completely diminished. There was no move to push forward with it, and it just stalled. So B2B customers are more than twice as likely to consider a brand that shows personal value over business value, which speaks a lot to what we do as a company as well. When you're showing that you have that personal interaction with the clients that you're working with, and you're showing how it affects them in their day-to-day life, and why you're selling to people rather than just selling to, an invisible prospect. You're really giving them experience that shows them that you're a human too, you have certain feelings and emotions, and you buy based off of stories and based off of those human connections. It's not just selling to a company that doesn't have a face. You're talking to people who are CEOs, who are VPs of marketing, heads of sales, and the experience that they're going to take away at the end of the day is really what you're presenting to them as your own brand and your own company. And so if you're not making it personal, oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was just wanting to make a comment on what you were saying with that, and we had actually that experience this morning. So one of the proposals that we had put out into a particular customer, and there were 5 people that are involved in making the decision. We submitted the proposal. It was so fantastic having that idea of who has actually looked at it and how long they've spent on it. But then we got together to have that person-to-person, human-to-human contact this morning over a conference call. But we were able to utilize the presentation as the kind of thing that the glue that binded the whole conversation together and put it into presentation mode. And it was so powerful having that view that everybody was looking at the same thing. It's the one that had been circulating. They could make comments, and we're now having that human element added in where they can see us and we're talking to it. So even in this time of lockdown, where you can't go and visit the customer and present it to them physically, we really could utilize Proposify as that unique binding element.
And that's fantastic. And I'm sure you feel that with clients, especially when you're moving through that deal and that process and you've closed it. There's still clients that you're working with day to day. So to have that experience kind of solidified at the close and know that it's going to continue on to have that connection, that's so important, especially now.
Yeah.
And we kind of go through that. There's a couple of studies actually that really lead into exactly what you were saying there. And one is the bow tie funnel. So essentially what this is telling you is that when you're moving along that deal, and Kevin, you were just speaking to this, when you're getting to that point where they're ready to commit, the buyer experience is actually going down. It's starting to plummet a little bit. They're getting a little bit cool. And this is really the most important time to make sure that you do have that human element and that connection, and that you're giving them that experience. So doing that presentation and knowing that you have one document that everybody's seen, that everybody's working off of, that's what really will bring it back up and solidify that deal and help you close it.
For sure, yeah.
We have a couple of other studies as well that we've kind of gone through, and one is the value of design fact finder, and it was done in 2007. And essentially what it's saying is that design focus actually does affect business, and it has affected the stock market. So design-led business that outperformed the FTSE 100 by more than 200% over a 10-year period had heavily design-focused brands, and they were a heavily design-focused company. And so you see that a lot with companies that have really skyrocketed. If you look at Apple, you know, if they were saying this phone works really well, it's great, it does all the functionality, it has everything we want, but we don't really care how it looks, do you think that Apple would really necessarily be as successful as they are now? And that kind of leads to most different companies that are using design as a way to push forward their brand and also to maintain the brand values that they currently have. So if you're working with a company and you see that beautiful experience from prospecting to that sale to close, you get that sense that they're going to continue giving you that same kind of value all the way through to the end when you're providing the service. I know that, Kevin, you and I were talking about the design of your proposals a little bit prior to this.
Yeah, so we've had some interesting experience. Our first view on putting our proposals together was very much around getting the information out to the customer, and we didn't really focus too much on graphics and design aspects of it. And then we started realizing that when we did put that stuff in, it changed the interaction that you had with the customer, and they were far more receptive to the proposals. So it's very interesting to see that graph. And do you have figures around actually how it can improve?
Yeah, definitely. So something that we did in the State of Proposals 2020, which we'll let you guys in on kind of as we go, we dug into all of those proposals, and we were able to find out that 23% close at a higher close rate when they have design and content that are branded. So images, videos, beautiful photos really do close that deal, and they do help with that proposal. They give you that experience. So adding proposals with images that stand out, compelling imagery that focuses on your brand's message, and something that demonstrates your company's dedication to the customer. Mm. So I mean,
significant number. That's just want to point out we're not talking about 5% or 10% that might be within a margin of error. On your analysis, but getting a 23% increase in closure rate is significant for any business.
Exactly, and actually we discovered that it was a 36% close rate from sending a proposal from a software like ours, but the 23% closed even faster with that design element in mind. So it's definitely a huge margin to have, and something to absolutely consider. I mean, if you're creating a document that looks like this, sure, it has all the information.
It's beautiful. And, this is a beautiful one.
It does what it says on the tin, right? That's kind of what this proposal is. It's your canned proposal. It's what you have. But then if you're sending something that's a little bit more like this, and these are actual examples of customer proposals that they've allowed us to use and allowed us to show. But if you're receiving something like this with beautiful imagery, the content's still there. There's still quite a bit of content within this area, but it is laid out and it's presented in a way that gives you an incredible experience. If you're doing something really powerful, creating websites for a customer, in the proposal, they're going to want to know that you value that kind of imagery and that kind of dedication to a beautiful presentation from the get-go. They're not just going to wait, prior to and hope that you're going to present to them and create them a website that they love. Or even something like this where it's so concise and so simple but laid out so well.
Yeah, and I think there's a big difference here between a brochure and brochureware. Anybody can get a nice created, designed brochure. And the difference here is you've got that look and feel, but it's personalized and it's got the unique information to that particular proposal. So anybody reading through it really can see that this isn't just a brochureware that somebody's just forwarded it to them. It really is tailored to that particular customer and for that particular proposal.
Exactly. And when you're going through it and you have that experience with the customer where they do have that sense of this was created for me, it really does help with that connection that we were talking about. So we do have a few tips on how to get proposals as beautiful as those. And one is get marketing or contract to design on brand proposals. And I mean, if you have a marketing team, they already have really great content that they've created for you. There's definitely a lot of material that you can reuse and get created into one of our branded proposals. And one of the best things is once you create them a couple of times and you have a couple of templates to use, you don't really have to tweak and change it that much. You have all of that content in one area. Locking down parts of the document so that reps can't mess with the branding or any kind of important content, like deleting certain items in a fee table should definitely have on lockdown. They're sure that it's standardized and it's kind of set in place. In terms of
one of the things that we found quite useful there, and you may jump into it as a feature, but you're 100% right. Contracts, particularly where they can be edited, you do have to be a little careful. I'm sure you've had all of it experiences where what the client signed was not what the company's policy was. And quite a useful feature we found. It's slightly different context when we send through reports on performance and security and so on some of the web app deployments that we'll do for people, and that comes in a PDF format, and you can actually just not simply attach that, but actually insert it into your proposal document overall as well. And then obviously that's that portion of it is static and can't be changed.
Exactly. And when you're going in and you're really creating that proposal, it's a time to look at the document that you have and say, do I need all of this information in there? When I'm presenting pricing to my customer, am I overwhelming them? Am I giving them too much information? What's kind of going on with that experience there? And I mean, again, this document, it will give you all the information, absolutely, but at first glance, you're kind of already tired and you don't necessarily want to read through the entire thing, you're skimming it. So to have fee tables that you've built out, and I'm sure Kevin and Russell, you can speak to this, when you're really looking at it and you're looking at the packages that you're presenting, it does help you narrow down on the most important information. So something like this where you do have all of those line items, they are there, but it's fairly complex. It's not necessarily an experience that the client wants to go through because all they're seeing is that number rather than a beautiful experience.
For sure, it makes a big difference on that presentation, and you can often confuse a customer by if you've got many pricing options that are available, it's difficult for them to actually see which is which, and for them to know when they've got to just add them all up or when they've got to choose one over another. And we found that with Proposify, we've been able to really get that extremely clear, make it very clear when they've got to choose between A, B, and C, and make it clear as well. One of the things that I really enjoy is where it shows what is your monthly fee and what is your once-off cost, and it's so crystal clear.
And giving them that opportunity to be able to know and have that clear value of the product that you're selling is it's incredibly important. So something that we talk about a lot is the anchoring bias, which is essentially the idea that establishing the value of a product or a service at a higher amount first, and then revealing what it actually will cost them will give you a better opportunity to close that sale, because they're set at a certain price. And you see this actually quite a bit when you look at e-commerce stores as well. And they present that option to you to pay in 2 or 3 payments or pay a monthly fee. And what they're doing really is you're paying the same amount, or you're paying just a little bit under, but you have a better experience there because you're actually being presented something that's a little bit more digestible. And so with this, it kind of gives you a more favorable psychological response to that pricing. So doing something in terms of a tiered pricing, or bringing a project in and quoting at 20K, but then when they actually see that it's going to be 18K overall, help them get kind of the buying and worth. There is kind of an interesting study actually done where too much choice, and we actually go through this, the choice paradox as well. When somebody's presented with too much choice, they almost get paralyzed in a way. They don't necessarily want to make a decision. So giving them that complex pricing that we were showing earlier, rather than just a 3-tiered package, Kevin, as you were speaking to, makes it a bit harder for them to actually make a choice. So there were, a couple of groups in this study. Actually, one group had 6 flavors of jam, and 40% were able to make a choice there. Group 2 had 24 flavors of jam, and only 3% were able to make a choice and make a purchase. And that's because sometimes there's just too much. There's too much presented to you, there's too much information, and it just gets overly complex, and they move right past it.
What's amazing from those examples is often we feel this ourselves when we make a purchasing decision, and yet when we prepare a proposal, we don't think that the person who's going to be receiving our proposal is going to react in the same kind of way. So we overcomplicate things, and we don't make it clear, and we don't show them where the clear choices are that they should be evaluating and make a decision on. So it really speaks to that emotional component, and I think there's so much in the solution that really moves the customer towards a good emotional experience with a proposal.
I agree, because I mean, at the end of the day, if you wouldn't want to look through that pricing, then clients will find it equally as hard. So it is great to bring it back to that kind of emotional connection and that one-on-one that we're all trying to get to at the end of the day. And so the data does show that actually offering 2 to 3 pricing options converts the best. So this is just an example of one of the templates that we've built out within our system that shows just a really concise, clear fee table that presents it to you. It gives you all the information that you need, and it's very easy to digest. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the proposal structure. So while pricing is an important part of the proposal piece, there's other factors that can definitely impact your likelihood to choose. And that's a bit about the structure that we're going to go through. So myth, prospects read your entire proposal.
Of course they do.
I mean, you spent so much time working on it, right? They gotta read it all.
Yes.
When actually they're skimming. They're definitely skimming. So 11 pages, 7 sections. This is what, from looking through all of those proposals and getting the data on those proposals that actually sign off, this is what we found works the best. So a cover, executive summary, it changes, of course, company to company, but this is the sweet spot that you want to land in. And 30% of proposals are signed within 11 minutes of opening. So you know they're not spending that entire time reading the entire thing. But what an incredible stat to have, right? 30% of proposals are signed within 11 minutes of opening. At this stage in the process, your client has already gone through the prospecting with you. They are getting ready to close that deal, and they're kind of at the end of that experience where what we talked about with the bow tie funnel, they're cooling off a little bit, and you want to make sure that they're ready to close. And with this, when they're opening a proposal, having that easy to sign off information really helps you get down to that 11 minutes of closing that deal. So truth, prospects scan proposals for relevant information.
And it's so great to get those insights into what they are looking at and what they're interested in. And that's for us, one of the key things that we gain from utilizing Proposify is, when a customer's spending a lot of time pondering on a certain element, you can get that information, when they've opened it day after day, and you can then phone them up and say, is there an element that we can help you with? Do you want to understand something more? So you really can track those statistics, getting quicker to that, increasing that rate of closure.
Exactly. And then I have 2 tips to get to that point where they're able to really dig into the proposal and get to that relevant information, is to focus on the prospect in your writing. They want to know that you understand their problem. They want to know that you have that human contact with them, that you listen to what they're looking to solve, and that you're able to present it to them in, a few words. So avoiding jargon, which I've definitely been guilty of as well. I've worked in design and I've worked in marketing, and especially within SaaS, And when you're working with companies that are tech and that are online, you do tend to pick up a lot of abbreviations and a lot of jargon. And I've definitely heard from friends of mine when I'm talking about the work that I do that, whoa, slow down, what does this mean? And if they're doing that, clients of mine will definitely be thinking the same thing. Using paragraph breaks and white space so it's scannable. So just making sure that that information is, again, easily digestible, that they're able to really dig into it and find the information that they're looking for. So we do actually have a closer's guide to winning proposals that our team created, our fantastic marketing team, and we'll drop a link in there for you guys to be able to download it. It's got some really amazing information to creating winning proposals, to be able to help you get started if you're just diving into Proposify. And we will definitely make sure we get you that link. But kind of moving on to proposal delivery, and this is where you're getting past that stage where you've created it, you've got that proposal branded, and you're ready to send it out. So another myth that prospects will let you know if there's a question. And Kevin, I don't know if you want to speak about that with the clients that you've worked with.
Yes, absolutely. So what we tend to find is that you really need to push the client to find out if there is something that's bothering them, if there's something that they're not sure of. Customers don't really just come forward and volunteer to their questions. So what we found is we can see those sections that they are looking at. So that helps us. So you can actually get ahead of them and answer the questions before they've even verbalized it to you. So that is one way. The other thing that we found very useful is the ability to actually pop a question into the proposal itself and have that conversation in the proposal. So as they're reading through it, they can comment on something, they can ask for clarification on it, and you can have a chat conversation through that. That's been very useful for us.
Because it's kind of keeping them within that realm of decision making when they're in the proposal with you. They haven't really, left the door yet. And it's interesting because 36% of proposals do close, but we found that means that 64% obviously don't. Mm-hmm. And there's a few reasons for that. And as you go through those stats, and I'm sure that you guys have seen this, when you have a client who's looking at it, a couple of times, 2.5 times is kind of what we found for the sweet spot. They've typically found all the information that they have. But if they're viewing it more times and they're going back and they're looking, it appears that something might be missing, or maybe there's a part in the proposal that's a little bit too overloaded with information. And so speaking to what you were chatting about when we first began the webinar, presenting the proposal to the client, giving them that experience, presenting it with them, having a conversation with them, and really running through it with them.
And what we often do there in our previous paradigm would be you would have your PDF document or your Excel document, which would have been submitted via email to them. And then when you got to the proposal stage, you would do maybe a PowerPoint presentation, and it would look completely different. And now they almost disorientated. While with this, you can actually just go into presentation mode, stick with the same proposal, and it's the familiarity that actually cements the understanding of what you're trying to present, as opposed to distracting them with something new.
Which is fantastic to have, because we have found that the average life cycle is about 55 hours to pass between creating that proposal and then when it lands in the prospect's inbox. So then, 10% of those proposals are opened within 2 minutes of sending. And if you're able to get on that presentation fairly quickly after knowing that they've been in there, that they're looking at it, 80 minutes later, 50% of those are going to close. And then, within 11 minutes, they're signed from opening. And after 24 hours, 50% are signed. So you really are able to move that process along quickly. You're able to have a conversation with that prospect and hopefully, especially now, get on a video call with them and run through it.
And Lindsay, a feature I really have enjoyed is that in some cases, we were speaking about it earlier, how we're kind of rushing to get proposals out the door a lot of time. And then we're following up as well to see how things are going and check on all those questions that they're apparently meant to be asking. What was quite useful as well is that you're often the reason you're putting so much text into your proposal is because you're trying to explain what's going on. And the ability to put a video into the proposal, and what we've done a number of times is actually done that for quote guidance. So to actually have a video saying this is what's going on, you can do it through some sort of screen recording. You can include your face or not. So I mean, it creates a personal connection with the client as well. You're talking them through it, even though you're doing it live. And that's something that we found is really helpful, creating a personal connection, and also a few questions are preempted and actually answered in the proposal guidance as well.
Exactly, Russell. I mean, you're making it easy for them to buy, and you're removing that friction that they would have from that sales process. And that's kind of, I mean, you kind of dove right into the next slide there, which is great, but really making sure that they don't have any kind of roadblocks in the way when they're trying to close that deal with you. So just removing that friction from the buying process. And like you said, anticipating the questions that they might have, adding information, giving them that video, being able to give them the tools to really dig into it and close it faster and have, fewer questions each time they go. So, this is a question that a lot of people have before they get into it, before they start using software like this. Why can't we get prospects a proposal faster? And previously with the PDF, Word documents, anything that you're using offline, you had to go through quite a few channels to do it. And the process became very complicated. It's very messy. There's a lot of people to chat to. So the process is chaos at the end of the day. This is kind of what it looks like. This is why people hate proposals and why they don't want to do them, and why, Russell, when you were saying that, I can't wait to get to my next proposal is rarely something that you would have heard. So there's a few reasons why. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I just said that's absolutely right, and I've obviously seen the slide and running through it. Picked up a few things like statement of work and the draft process, and I had a good laugh when I went through it, and remembering on all the steps we used to take, which we no longer think about at quite the same level of complexity.
I was trying to actually come to a number of what percentage it's decreased in terms of the time that we spend on putting together a proposal. Russell, would you say it's saved us 50% shorter time or more? Even more?
It's at least that. I think we're starting to head towards orders of magnitude.
Yeah.
And I think what's important to note as well is that you'll get the immediate benefits, and one of the criteria that we always set when looking at things is that we want to realize that value quite quickly. We can go and invest in a monstrous ERP system which will include a quoting component and everything will be tied together, but it takes a year to get to where you need to on that, and then there's still improvements to be made. So you can get value out of it really quickly, and then it improves. The process improves as you go along. You get better at it, and you get to access the richer features of the platform. They're there, they're available, and you can start integrating them over time.
It really does move through the entire process. And when you're talking about the people that you're working with and the people in your company, we have found that sales reps are spending 63% of their time on non-selling tasks, which is it's not what you want. You want, if you're going to sell, you want your salespeople selling. You want to be able to sell. You want to be on the phone with clients. And then 45% say they have excessive admin tasks as well, and less than 50% of forecasted deals close in time, or if they close at all. So really getting rid of that pain point and that friction in the sales process for the entire company, and moving toward those other systems, because this also does allow you to move into other integrated systems. If you're using a CRM, if you have an invoicing tool, if you do have another management tool that you use as well, to be able to create that process and make sure that you have a smooth process from beginning to end for your entire team is so important, and also to have tools that speak well to each other. So where proposals fit into your process, Kevin and Russell, I can kind of let you take over there.
Yeah, sure. So proposals in terms of our process, obviously there's first a consulting engagement from our side. So our proposals get fairly complex, and they can have quite a few elements to them. But to Russell's point, as time goes on, we've got these different sections that they've got the snippets created, so we're able to drag and drop different elements into the proposal And it really has become one of the central processes in our sales our sales process. It's all starts forming around our proposal. So it's not the end thing that gets tagged on. It becomes really your contact with the customer. It becomes the discussion point around the customer, and it's just happens seamlessly. Russell, any comment on your side?
Yeah, exactly right. I think we, the engagement process with the client is often a consulting one, because we're of the nature of the business that we're in, as Kevin mentioned, can be complex. There's quite a lot of technical kind of stuff in there. And what happens now is, once we put that together, there's a few other tools, solutions, diagrams that you have to produce, and exposing the client to various project plans that might be necessary. But instead of the proposal being a part of the process, it's a stumbling block. I kind of look forward to taking the client through the proposal now, because like Kevin mentioned, we get them out really quickly. So features like snippets, having pricing templates as well, where you can quickly kind of drag and drop various prices for different services into the proposal, take some out, make them optional. It's almost, when I read that, to say where the proposals fit into our process, I feel perhaps it should have said where proposals have become part of our process. So it actually helps to explain things with our clients as to what the next steps are, what they can expect from a technical and delivery point of view. I think it's in many ways has enhanced our process and become part of it, rather than just being a step on the process.
And with the clients that you're working with, I mean, creating a simple, and this is a few tips that we have, but creating that simple process that you now know, that you now get excited about. You get excited about showing a proposal and kind of passing that on to them. So for your reps, for the clients that you work with, just allowing them to know that they can create a simple process for their reps to create proposals, creating starter proposals that you can work off and keep to limit copy and paste, and really limit any of the little indiscretions. Then, I have a document and you have a document and you have a document, who has the latest version? And then to get all the custom content and pricing approved first before layouts, so you really know that the information that you're sending out to your client is the most up-to-date and the most accurate, and that you're really sending out information that comes from a central library for products. Pricing, text snippets, sections, images, they're all the same. They're all the most up-to-date that you could have, and there's really, there's that elimination for error in that way.
And
so kind of going,
one thinks that you could have those things ticked off by using something like a OneDrive or a Google Drive or something like that, where you're sharing a folder with somebody and you're putting all the documents there. And that's how we did it initially. We had got our stuff stored on AWS, and we were sharing the documents from there. And it's amazing how the discipline just doesn't work, because what eventually would happen was I would say to Russell, I'm looking for the latest development proposal that we've got, and I've downloaded the one. You would say, but actually I've got a local copy where I've just updated something. So it doesn't work. As much as you try and do it like that, it never works out. There's always a document that's the later version, etc. And this solves all of that problem. Everything is there. It's just seamless.
You never have to ask where is that signed copy if the customer signed, because what version of this proposal did they actually sign?
Yep.
It also comes into it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's one single source of truth. Ooh. Notifications there. But it really does lead into that process where you guys know that you have the latest version of everything, and you know that you have that signed version. So you and Russell don't have to chase after each other and say, where's that signed contract that we had, because it's in one single source of truth. So kind of a few things that we've discovered through the proposal format. The way that you present it to clients, you still get the majority of clients looking at your proposal on their desktop. About 24% are on phone, and about 2% are on tablet right now. So really creating a proposal that's easily digestible and easy to view on those different devices can close that deal quite a bit faster and make sure that that client has that experience throughout the entire process. 65% of proposals that have fillable forms. So if you have information that you need to gather from a client and you can pop it right into the proposal to make sure that they're able to fill out that information there, it saves that back and forth and that step to be able to grab that information, go, and then start closing that deal. So we've actually found, 3.4% of proposals with an e-signature will close. And that's a huge lift in proposal close rates when you include an e-signature, because you're making it really easy and again removing that friction from your client to be able to sign that deal.
And Lindsay, one of the things that I'm often asked around this is the legality of that e-signature. Will you just speak to that?
Absolutely.
Around that?
For sure. So our e-signatures are legally binding. They do meet with the compliance of legalities for e-signatures. So if you are signing that on a proposal and you have a client who is signing that with you, it is completely legally binding. So it will close that deal. It'll be appropriate for that contract, and you don't need to worry about that kind of coming up and having that conversation about that legality.
And we just had a question that popped up saying, what happens if your client does not have the e-signature software? And the e-signature software is integrated into Proposify. It's part of Proposify. So with the solution, it's got the e-signature. They sign it. It's legally binding, all within Proposify. You don't have to have another piece of software for signature signing.
Exactly. It's all built in. It's an e-signature tool that we've built within Proposify. So you have it in just one single source of truth. And it also takes out that need, as you were saying, for that additional piece of software to close that deal. And then we'll dive into the PDF, because this is something that we talk about a lot, that we've been talking about, especially over the last few weeks, getting a PDF printed and then signing it and then scanning it and then sending it back. It's very limiting. Within that way, you can't really track when somebody's opened your email. You can't really track when they've signed it. You have to keep sending those emails out and saying, hey, I don't want to bother you, but we got to get this deal closed. Have you had a chance to look at my proposal? We need to get that document signed so that we can move on to the next steps. And it really does present a problem, because you don't have oversight over what's going on with that deal. You're kind of stalled, and it becomes this black box of information where everything is just out of sight and out of mind. And you have to really dive into what the customer is doing via email or phone to figure out where that deal is going. So presenting proposals in a browser instead of using PDFs. And this is something that we talked about a little bit before as well, really giving them that experience of a proposal online to be able to answer questions firsthand. And then using software to collect information and e-signatures. So having visibility over the sections that they're viewing, how long they viewed it, if they took more time on the contract versus the actual product details, really just having oversight on information to track the document. So being able to know when somebody opened it, when they sign it, getting those notifications, it becomes very integral to the sales process. And then sending personalized emails. So of course, being able to send your client the experience that they've had from the beginning of starting the sales process with you, making sure that they're still getting that same kind of personal touch from you. So discussing the proposal while they're reading it. And Kevin, you talked about that as well, doing that within a presentation, having that chat feature, that conversation with them, kind of even as we are now going through these stats.
Yes, yes. And I must admit, I do kind of feel sometimes that I'm being a bit stalkerish when I see somebody's pondering over a particular thing, and I phone them up and I say, do you want to go through this part? And they're like, how did you know? You know, you're reading my mind. Yeah. so it is
just to clarify, that's all.
Yes. It's my psychic ability that knows exactly which area that they're struggling with and they want greater clarity on. But it is very handy to be able to do that, and especially when a deal has gone cold for a while. So it might be, let's say it's a week, and they looked at it on the first day and it's gone cold, and then you suddenly get a notification saying they've re-looked at the proposal and now they've downloaded it as an example. Then you know, phone them up. It's hot again, and you can try and close that deal then.
Exactly. So to be able to give them that branded preview and do that with them right there, and know that if they're in that proposal, exactly what you were saying, to have that conversation. And it can be a little bit weird, but there's always that nice moment when it kind of feels like somebody's read your mind and they understand your pain and they understand your frustration. And that really does start to speak volumes with a client, because they really do understand that you feel what they're feeling and you're there to help solve it. So a few problems that people typically have: marketing, operations, sales leaders, there's no visibility into what's happening with proposals. Marketing, usually proposals don't reflect the brand. And I mean, everybody within these different organizations has put a lot of work into maintaining the company that you're working for, the brand that you have. The way that reps are wasting time searching for content that they don't need is affecting operations, and then losing deals to the competition because nobody knows exactly what's going on. They all kind of feed into each other. And typically people will use a lot of different solutions to be able to try and solve these problems. So you're getting into an area where you have a lot of different software that's not necessarily speaking to each other. And it's not really giving that opportunity to bring these three merging areas together. What it's actually doing is it's kind of pulling them apart. So, you know, in a perfect world, proposals will be presented in a web-based, mobile-friendly format. So if somebody gets it on their phone, they're able to take a look at it. They know that that deal is looking good, and they're able to sign it off. Interactive quoting, live chat, being able to easily track activity within the document and know where your client spends time. You can kind of see where this is leading into, and marketing wouldn't be limited by any design layout, or documents would be locked down so reps couldn't mess with the formatting or branding. This is, you know, a perfect world scenario, being able to have all of these three worlds come together and really be able to collaborate. In a perfect world, the proposal format workflow would be streamlined and simple. You'd be able to copy and paste and drop. You would have little to no manual entry, and the whole team would be centralized and able to access everything in one place. And so we really do believe that Proposify kind of checks all those boxes and really brings everybody together in terms of that team, in terms of making sure that all of these three components are speaking together and that it's removing that friction. So creating impressive proposals that reflect your brand, the reps can find everything they need, and then understanding how prospects are interacting with your proposals really in one kind of single source of truth. We do believe Proposify does that, and it's one of the main reasons why we partner with incredible companies as well, because we do get that experience all the time where a client will come to us and they'll say, I've been delivering this experience to my clients and they want this experience as well. I want to be able to help them keep their proposal process as streamlined as I do, to be able to use your software and to be able to have all of the information necessary to be able to really integrate it into their sales process. And so this year, this is something exciting and something that we actually learned a few weeks ago, that we're in the top 50 of the best software for 2020 from G2. So it's incredible to see that, you know, the rest of the world is kind of getting into this process as well and really seeing that value from proposal software and how it does help them.
That's an excellent award. That's a tough one to crack. So good go.
Thank you very much. Well, I mean, we couldn't do it without clients like yourselves and partners like yourselves, people who really do believe in the software that we've created and that we truly do think solves all of these problems. And it does keep us, you know, above the industry average. So as you can see here, going through all of the different industries, from insurance to hospitality, real estate, and legal, Proposify's close rate is pretty well and above for all of them. So what we can offer, you know, professional, well-designed proposals, tight control and permissions, really everything that we went through today, being able to sync data with Salesforce, to have your CRM. If you do need access to a Salesforce App Exchange and you want to live within that area because you do typically spend most of your time in your CRM, we are able to offer that ability as well. So what it's really doing is it's continuously tightening up that sales process that you have and removing those roadblocks that otherwise would take your time away from actually selling and working with your clients. So we can kind of go a little bit here to what Cascade offers as well.
So I think I'll just chat to this slide quickly. One thing that we found is that the time to get value from the software is something that you really want to focus on. And so not only can you get Proposify through Cascade, but actually we really want to help our clients get that value, get up and running quickly. So having had the experience that we've had and being a certified Proposify partner, we can help you set up that environment in the best way. We can import your clients and import the data in already. And if you've got some proposals already, so you might have PDFs or PowerPoints, Word documents, etc., we can actually get those in the format. We can style them up in a way that is more appealing, that is better, etc. And we'll give you the guidance around creating those excellent proposals. We can do a training boot camp for you and train up your team on how to use the software. And then very much around integrations between different systems. So if you want to integrate it into your CRM system or into an accounting system, we can help you with those integrations, even if it's writing an API into them or just creating a workflow that you need, we can assist with that. So these are the value add components that we do over and above just supplying you with the software or allowing you to have a trial or doing demos for you that are particular to your industry.
Yeah, so I mean, partners like you, Kevin, and this is something that we've really discovered, having that kind of partner who's actually been a client as well, who knows how to do all of this setup, who's been through kind of all of the tips and the tricks of getting Proposify set up, quickly and accurately, is one of the most beneficial things of the partner program that we have. We're able to work with you and with your clients all over the world and really give them the same experience that our sales team would give them, that our customer success team would give them. You guys you're trained to be part of the team. You're part of the family.
Yep.
And I mean, with Proposify, we do have a couple of great testimonials here. Daniela is saying that I'm not going back to Excel's old-fashioned ways. From the beginning to when I hit send, it's a lot faster, and we finally moved to the 21st century. So getting those documents online and really making sure that everything is streamlined. Yellowstone is no longer handcuffed when they're sending those documents. It's a lot easier to get them out there and out of the mindset of PDFs and spreadsheets, and really looking at all the capabilities that they're able to use for their 50-plus team to get documents signed quickly has been amazing for them as well. But I mean, I do want to lead into this, and we want you guys to book a demo with Cascade. They're one of our most amazing partners. We teamed up to do this webinar so that we could pass on some great information to you guys. But if you're interested and you do want to take a dive through the product, I do recommend and I do encourage you to go book a demo with Cascade and take a run through.
Yeah, and we'd like to really, that invite is open to any customer that's out there. And what we'll do as well is just give you some case studies that are particular to your industry. So you can see what the benefits that customers have had who are similar to you as well. From our site, you can book a demo. You can sign up for a 2-week trial over there as well, and later on you can see that you can actually download the report around the Slate of Proposals 2020.
So you guys will have all of that great information to be able to get this guide, to be able to take a dive through the stats that we have and really help it with your process as well. And then for any Q&A, we definitely encourage you to reach out to Cascade as well. And questions here, if you have any questions, please pop them in the bottom. We'll make sure that you have that link to the closer's guide as well. We'll put that down there. If you do have any questions also about our partner program, I'll pop a link down to our landing page so that you have all the information that you need. But feel free to reach out to us as well to chat about that. It's just partnerships@proposify.com.
All right, and there's our details. You can mail us if you want to book that demo at info@cascade.cloud, or you can go onto our website. You can give us a call over there, all various ways. Send us a tweet, LinkedIn, Facebook, etc. If there are any questions, we will take the questions now. We'll stay on the line for a few minutes. I think we have intended to answer some of them during the presentation. But
that's always great. And thank you so much, Kevin and Russell, for having me on here, for working with me on this webinar. It's been great.
Lindsay, thank you for joining us. It's been great to have the expert on the call, and it's been very informative. And I'm sure everybody agrees that they've learned many tricks and tips on how to close bigger sales and close those sales faster. Let me see.
My pleasure.
There's a question over here. We've got a couple comments. People have commented that it looks like a really powerful tool. Customer has asked here, if a customer is old school, can they print a proposal? The answer is yes, you can download the proposal and you can print it out. So they can choose how they want to interact with it. So if somebody says, oh, I'm not comfortable with e-signing it, well, then absolutely they want to do it old school, they can. So it really has multiple formats that you can use.
Absolutely. You kind of hit the nail on the head there.
All right. If there are no further questions, thank you everybody for joining us. Lindsay, all the way from Canada, thank you for joining us as well.
Pleasure.
Everybody, please stay safe out there. Don't forget to wash your hands, and we'll see you soon. Thanks,
everyone. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Russell.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.